Greetings, friends. So, asking for help and receiving help when it is offered. This is such a huge needed skill for the new world that we are creating. Because the new world that we're creating, the new paradigm, is really based on the truth of our relationship with one another, our right relationship with one another, and that is interdependence. And interdependence really means counting on one another. And so, how do we create the new world that we want to live in? We do that by living it now, by creating it now, by acting as if, by doing it instead of waiting for somebody else to do it for us. And so, giving and receiving, those things are meant to be in balance. So those are just like inhaling and exhaling. Like you can't really do one without the other. And so if you just imagine for yourself, just inhale, like you can only inhale so much. And it's very uncomfortable. And also if you exhale. So if you're giving, then guess what? You get very depleted and very exhausted, and it is also not very comfortable because we are meant to be in the cycle of doing both simultaneously. And so to live your best possible life and to serve at the highest level in your life mission while you're here on earth, and to step into the new and better world that we are creating together, you really have to learn to ask for help. It's a really key skill. And it is one that is challenging, right? Especially given a lot of the issues that we've been talking about in here, feeling alone in life or having a long history of rejection and hurt, maybe feeling like you can't count on people. So maybe you relate to some of these things. So maybe you feel like you have to do it all on your own. So, gender creative people, we do tend to want to do things on our own and in our own way. And that is part of our genius. And that is also a part of our pain. And our victimization is really feeling like we have to do everything on our own because we can't really count on anyone else. And so this can leave us feeling exhausted and living life in a state of struggle, which really keeps us from being our best selves and making our best contribution. So maybe part of you feels unhelpable. I know for myself, for much of my life, I really did feel just fundamentally unhelpable. Like I knew that I had special needs, and I really felt like, the help that I needed, either it didn't exist or it simply wasn't available. And a lot of times when I would seek out help, then instead of walking away receiving help, then I would end up helping the other people who I was asking for help, teaching them, and still walking away feeling drained and exhausted and unhelped. And it was hard for me to see my own blockages and resistance to receiving that kind of help. And lastly, when people do offer you help, do you have a knee-jerk response of, oh, I'm good, or, oh, I'm fine, kind of, deflect it? Because if that's your response, then you're probably very good at deflecting help. And so let's just talk for a minute about why. Like, why is it so difficult to ask for and receive help? And so, some of the reasons are overlapping with some of the things that we have been talking about in here. So maybe some part of you feels like you don't deserve it. So maybe that taps into what I talked about last time as far as not feeling good enough. Maybe you have fears that there are strings attached, or that there's unspoken expectations. And so if you ask for receive help, then that puts you in a a place where maybe you might feel manipulated or feel in a one down position, like it's not unconditional. And so there's going to be some kind of cost for that later. Maybe you have no faith in others. So that's the trust issue that we're talking about, having a history of hurt and disappointment. And so maybe feeling like it's hard for you to trust anyone, or maybe you feel like, no one can take care of me or take care of things as well as I can. So maybe there's also some control issues. It's hard for you to let go of control. Maybe you feel like I'm the only person that I can trust. And, the final one, which I feel like is just really at the root, and that is vulnerability. And so, asking for help, receiving help, a lot of the reason why we are so reluctant to do that is because it makes us feel vulnerable. And so there's some emotional discomfort in that requires some courage, but also it really, goes against the grain of our culture. And so we are really taught that if you are feeling vulnerable, that vulnerability is really about neediness and about weakness. We feel like, if we are vulnerable, then somebody else has power over us or the power to hurt or reject us. And so, it's more comfortable to be in a place of, being the giver, because if I do all the giving, then I get to feel connected without feeling vulnerable. And, I get to be in kind of the one-up position of control rather than feeling uncomfortable, feeling like I might owe somebody else something. And so, as an activist myself, and for those of us who are interested in changing the world and challenging and transforming this very dysfunctional society, embracing your vulnerability and asking for help, I really see that as a key form of resistance, of really living in a patriarchal culture that, feminizes vulnerability and considers it to be a form of weakness that needs to be rejected in order to embrace, kind of masculine forms of control and dominance and leadership. Embracing your vulnerability, I feel like, is a really radical and subversive act, and also one that requires practice. And so, don't you think that it is time for a change? Don't you feel tired of doing everything on your own and pushing away the help that is trying to get to you? And so, I've been talking about a lot of issues in here about feeling alone in life and about not feeling safe, about prioritizing other people's needs over your own, bracing for hurt and disappointment, making things okay that really aren't okay. And, the reason that I've been talking about these particular issues out of all of the possible issues and these dynamics is because these are the ones that I have the tools to heal. They are the ones that I struggled with in the past. And as I mentioned, that's how you develop the capabilities to help other people heal, is because you go through your own healing process. And in the process of that, then you develop tools that then you could turn around and pass on. And so if you have identified with any of the issues that I have been discussing in here, and you are feeling ready to have something different in your life, to change your life so that you can be on the other side of any of these struggles, then reach out, send me a private message, practice with me. I'm a safe person, and I can get you the same results that I get from my clients. So there is help available, and for myself, I had to figure a lot of this stuff out on my own because there wasn't someone like me that I could ask for help at the time. And as I mentioned previously, I had kind of a self-created journey that did give me a lot of tools, and it also took me a really long time. And it was a ton of work, and I had many traumas along the way from trying to do that work in entirely cisgender communities. And so, I really went through all of that so that you wouldn't have to, so that you can take the quicker and more direct route with somebody who knows the way and who can guide you. And that is the reason why I gained these tools, is so that I can turn around and offer them, especially in an environment of entirely gender creative folks, so that you have the opportunity to feel safe and supported in that in ways that I never did. And so, if there are areas that you're struggling with, but I just encourage you not to struggle alone, to reach out, and to spare yourself, the time and the energy wasted in trying to do it all on your own. And, valuing yourself enough to really get the help that you deserve and the guidance to transform your life. Because it's not just your life that is impacted. For myself, for long stretches in my life, my own happiness was not necessarily a strong enough motivator for me to reach out for help. But, I do have a strong mission and vision in life. And so that is really what motivated me and what carried me through. And so, when you heal, then you have a measurable impact on the world around you. And if you are feeling blocked, then you are not getting your message out into the world in the most powerful ways. And so I'm really invested in this because, I called this group of people together because I believe that you have important messages for the world that the world needs right now. And this group is designed to give you greater clarity about what is your message and how you are meant to teach and to lead in the world, and to give you encouragement to put yourself out there in increasingly courageous ways, because the world needs you. And to also to illuminate, what are some of those challenges in putting yourself out there, so that I can help you to clear out those challenges and obstacles so that you can be your most effective, which not coincidentally is also your happiest self. And, as a person, how I make decisions, I'm always looking for the win-win situation. And so, in this particular instance, it is really a win-win-win, because I win because I get to express my life purpose, and you win because you get to be freed of whatever is holding you back and to express your life purpose. And the world wins because our communities really need each of us to be expressing our life purpose, the reason why we are here, sharing the piece of the puzzle that we were given. And in fact, I believe that our very survival as a species is dependent upon that. So, wow, welcome. We got a bunch of folks, Barry and Nadia and Chelsea and Alistair. So welcome. And if you have any questions or comments, then you can go ahead and post those now. I'm going to be talking a lot more about this issue of asking for help and receiving, because it just is so incredibly vital for our own happiness and for the kind of world that I want to be living in. And it really does take a lot of courage and support to be able to go against the flow of what our past life experience has been in order to be able to create something new and something different. So yeah, thank you all for being here, and I hope that you have a great evening, and I look forward to touching base with you again in a couple of days.